Karen demands a new car after watching TikTok push present trend, sparking major marriage conflict. After 5 years of marriage, my wife is currently carrying our child. She emailed me a TikTok video of a woman debating the idea of a push gift on a podcast a few days ago. I originally had no idea what it meant, but when I searched it out I discovered it's essentially a thank you present to the woman bearing your child. To me this idea appeared really weird. Although your husband's gratitude for what women go through during pregnancy and childbirth is much sought for, the materialistic element stopped me. The woman on TikTok went on and on about how it's a body for a body, implying that the man should get a permanent tattoo on his lower body as well as offer her a house and a car as special gifts. Those expectations struck me as rather reasonable, a little vengeful, and overdone for my taste. Couples make the united decision to bring a child into the world. In our situation, my wife wants to be a parent too, thus she was not under pressure to be pregnant. Thinking that would be the end of it, I just answered the TikTok with laughing emojis and went on. I figured she submitted the video as satire, something like, "Oh look how ridiculous this is." I reacted to the video while she was in the other room. She came to me saying she wanted me to tap into my own resources to acquire a car specifically for her, even though she does not anticipate a tattoo or an elite house. Almost startled, I looked at her and started giggling. Though I knew I was mistaken, my wife and I agreed on how foolish individuals sometimes are. I prodded her to find out whether she was really serious. She grew really agitated and stated she indeed wanted a real push present. Her gift is, I reminded her, the realization of a healthy baby and parenting itself. Materially speaking, I'll probably send her a Mother's Day card, a day off, some jewelry she likes under $700, but nothing more. I pointed out that our automobile, not only hers, will be hers if she truly wants an extra car. She argued it was insufficient given what she would go through. She persisted and inquired as to whether I felt she was unworthy. She is worthy as my partner and the mother of my child, but she also has to be reasonable and realize that neither of us is personally deserving of what she is requesting. She needs to control her expectations, I remarked, since I don't see why she feels qualified for that. It came out wrong, but I meant not to discount her personally. She is crying about the argument right now and is not talking to me. I heard her on the phone berating me to her sister. But under no circumstances would I ever think of giving her a car. She's hurting right now, so I feel guilty. Yet I'm not evil for giving her a reality check. My push present was sushi soon after the birth of the small one. I couldn't have any and really craved sushi all during my pregnancy. Not that jerk. I'm expecting and my spouse is going to present me with birthstone jewelry. I'm also giving him a watch with an engraving. Those TikTok videos ruin relationships totally. Once she wouldn't create her brother-in-law a boo basket for Halloween, my sister-in-law almost left my brother-in-law. Why women need relationship advice from TikTok is beyond me. Relationships are being destroyed at frightening speed on social media. I reluctantly agreed to an open marriage with my wife. When I fell in love with a coworker, my ex lost control and tried to ruin everything. I, 47, have been married to Lisa, 42, for 17 years, however we only lived together for roughly 7 years. A decade ago, I discovered Lisa cheating on me, and she admitted that she had fallen out of love and desired an open marriage. We have 2 children. The older was a toddler and the younger was still a baby when this occurred. It was heartbreaking to me. She stated that having back-to-back pregnancies had a negative impact on her physical and emotional health, and she wished to freshen up. Unfortunately, her method of relaxation was to bring various men into bed. Divorce was complicated at that stage, with 2 small children and a meager income. I decided to let her live her life as I relocated upstairs in our duplex home. We became co-parents for our children. It wasn't as hunky-dory as it seems. We split up with a lot of hatred and name-calling, largely from me since she cheated. But soon, we got caught up in work and life and I moved on and became more relaxed. A few months ago, I met Kathy, 35F at work. She's my junior, and we hit it off immediately. Bonding with her felt more natural than anything I'd experienced in a long time. It wasn't a romantic connection at first. We connected as understanding coworkers and spent time together outside of work, still simply as friends. We made out last month and I had a unique feeling for her. She has been crashing at my apartment on a regular basis since then, which technically affects my wife. Lisa is still my wife and we are still married. Lisa has been acting strangely these days. Kathy hangs out with me and attempts to command authority like a wife. I had to remind her that we are separated, and I can live my life as she has for years. It is difficult to express what she has been doing, but I will try. Kathy and I were eating dinner one evening in my kitchen. Lisa arrived and asked, "Can I join you guys?" It became an extremely awkward time for both of us. Kathy and I gazed at each other, surprised. Lisa sat down with her dish without waiting for a response. We ate supper like strangers, smiling politely despite Lisa's forced chat. Our supper was ruined, but I gave Lisa the benefit of the doubt, believing she was simply trying to fit in. Then there was another incident in which she was bossy, attempting to impose her rights as a wife. Kathy and I were upstairs watching a movie when Lisa barged in and requested me to join her. When I questioned what was wrong, she answered, "Your children need you. The younger one needs your assistance with a scientific project." I was surprised since we had divided the schoolwork. I help the older child, and she takes care of the smaller. I informed her that I had already done my part for our eldest kid and that this was now her responsibility. She became enraged and exclaimed, "Is this kid not yours? Instead of assisting him, you're here lurking." This resulted in a full-blown confrontation between Lisa and me. Kathy, feeling embarrassed, excused herself and left. Kathy told me after that episode that she would no longer hang out at my apartment, though we continue to meet at hers. But why should I sacrifice my life when I've never touched hers? She's been living her life her way, bringing whatever mail she wants into the house. And I've always looked the other way. Lisa is purposely attempting to break the link I've formed with someone. I addressed Lisa the other day, and she replied she wasn't worried by my close relationship with Kathy. She refused to accept her actions, claiming I was overthinking. I informed her that if she continued to intervene in my life, I would consider getting divorced. She had tears in her eyes and apologized for disturbing us. She was only worried about our son's unfinished assignment and was preoccupied with her work, so she asked me for assistance. I claimed it wasn't a call for help, it was nothing short of gaslighting. She then contacted Kathy, apologized and invited her to come over. Kathy accepted the apologies but set boundaries, explaining that she preferred to meet me at her home. I am currently in a difficult situation. I want to get rid of Lisa, but I'm worried she'll destroy my growing connection with Kathy. I'm thinking of obtaining a divorce. The only reason I didn't file for divorce back then was that I didn't want my children to have to pick between their mother and father. Now I'm contemplating if I should go forward with it and prioritize myself over everyone else, including my children. Should I wait a few years for my children to grow up before making a move? I'm not sure Kathy will wait for me till then. Oh, I'm still upset with Lisa over her decision to open the marriage. I'm also upset with myself for agreeing with her and not pushing back enough. Edit. Apologies for all of the jargon and missing facts, particularly on Lisa's adultery and our separation dynamics. People say it's tough to give counsel without clarity, so here it is. It'll be long, so skip it if you don't want to learn about the past. This was roughly 10 years ago, so I may have missed a few specifics. Lisa began acting up 4 months after our younger kid was born. She wouldn't let me get close and said she wasn't ready for sex. Pregnancy and breastfeeding had made her wary of closeness. I supported her decision, but we were slipping apart emotionally. I recommended we go to couples therapy, but she dismissed it, saying it was simply her postpartum phase and she'd recover shortly. It took almost a year before I lost patience and addressed her, stating that we needed to address the elephant in the room. She either attended therapy with me or gave me the truth about what was wrong. She gaslighted me, accusing me of being insensitive and other nonsense, but I refused to let it go this time and probed for the truth. I snooped through her phone but found nothing definite because she had deleted the majority of the chats and emails. I'm not sure how I got the clue, but one day she mentioned she was going shopping with her pals. I followed her automobile and discovered her infidelity. She was sleeping with a young college student. I knocked rather than barged into his residence. Lisa was on the couch in her lingerie, trying to cover herself, when a shirtless guy responded. I grabbed the guy by the neck and was ready to strike him when Lisa interfered, pleading with me to leave him alone. She cried, saying it wasn't his fault. He was only one of the guys she was hooking up with. It blew my mind. What the heck, one of the guys? She admitted to hooking up with several guys. The guy standing in front of me had no idea what was going on, or that she was married with children. We returned home, and I did everything any man in my position would do. No, I don't hit. I'm not a violent man. I contacted her parents and confessed the facts in front of everyone. I insisted on the divorce. I even engaged a lawyer and discussed the case, but as things went, the lawyer revealed the truth, which shook me. There was no genuine benefit for me, only loss. Because the kids were so young, they'd require their mother. At most, I could gain joint custody, but Lisa would have to allow me to meet with them and dictate the terms. Yes, I could take her to court if she didn't follow the court order. But how often does a regular man want to become engaged in legal battles? We live in a no-fault state, so there is no moral policing for her. I still have to pay alimony, and child support is required. So basically, I handle all of the tasks of a father, but I rely on Lisa to spend time with my children. Lisa, on the other hand, was opposed divorce. She proposed that rather than divorcing, we open our marriage and return to each other whenever we wanted. I knew I never wanted her back, but divorce was too expensive at the time. The only practical choice was to separate and live as housemates and co-parents with our children. So, we did it. Though she calls it an open marriage or whatever she wants, I consider it a failed strategy, and we have parted. Lisa has been with several partners over the last 10 years. Though she claims she had no significant relationships with any of them, I believe she had at least 3 sexual partners. They visited our house, and she went trekking and on vacation with them. It was difficult for me to see her bringing different guys into our home, first her adultery, then her multiple partners in our bedroom. We own a duplex house. I move the guest bedroom upstairs. The stairs leading to it are accessible through the back door. We bought the property from an Asian couple who built it so their grown-up son could live upstairs in peace. Unfortunately, the son moved out, and the couple sold it to us since it was too big for them. The main entry to the house leads into a living room with a large closed kitchen, a dining area, a master bedroom, and a pantry that we converted into our children's room. Upstairs, there is a guest room the same size as the master bedroom, and the rest of the space is dedicated to a huge library area for reading and hosting parties. That space leads to the roof of the home, which has a little patio. Since I was moved upstairs, I could see much of what was going on downstairs. I hoped I could close my eyes, but for my children's sake, I remained attentive. I initially joined the dating scene, but after a few months, it felt hollow and useless. I discontinued it and concentrated on other important matters. I joined a badminton club to improve my athletic body. I had been a sports fan in college, so I returned to playing field games on weekends. I also joined a hiking club that plans solo hikes every 2 months. You cannot bring a friend, spouse, or someone you know. You hike alone, and there are others who do as well. It was tremendous fun. I did that for 2 years straight and now only do it twice a year. I've had a few hookups over the last 10 years, but no emotional affairs or long-term relationships. I didn't feel connected to anyone else. Kathy's situation is different. I feel good around her. She's the woman I believe I can give love another chance with. But now, Lisa, the devil of my life, has returned to hunt me down. The scenario remains the same. Kathy refuses to come to my apartment. I'm concerned she'll withdraw herself from me, and I don't want to lose her. The scenario forces me to choose between Kathy and my children, and I'm having difficulty making a decision. Update 1. Hello everyone. Thank you for all your suggestions and remarks. I appreciate everything, good and terrible. I sought therapy, which greatly aided me in determining my focus point and what I want out of life at this time. As several of you mentioned, the children are nearing their teen years, so it will only be a matter of a few years before they leave to lead their own lives. It makes no sense to pass up my chance to be happy with Kathy. I had an open discussion with Kathy. I told her about my feelings. I told her I wanted to be with her, and if she felt the same way we could work things out. She claims she feels the same way but is hesitant due to my family dynamics. She simply does not feel comfortable around my legal wife. She is fine with the youngsters surrounding me, however. I said I could figure this out. I'm going to move out and the kids can choose where they want to live. They are mature enough to make that choice, and they can alternate between mom and dad's. Kathy agreed with the plan. My therapist proposed counseling for the children, in which they might be informed of our marital status in an age-appropriate way. Lisa flipped out when I informed her about the counseling. She stated I was being selfish and damaging our children's life by getting serious with Kathy, and that I should put my family first over my own selfish goals. I lost my cool at that. I asked, "Really, Lisa? Are you the one advocating family values and morality? What happened to your ethics while you were getting knocked up by various men when your children were still breastfeeding and rolling in their cribs?" I asked her to back off and brought the children to the counselor. It was useful. The children responded well and appreciated that we had banded together for their cause. They also agreed that I deserved to be happy for the rest of my life. I informed Lisa that I would be filing for divorce. She pretended to be surprised and began sobbing. She stated, "I thought we decided never to divorce and to be together throughout. Now that you have found this woman, you are leaving your family to be with her. I've also met a lot of men who wanted to marry me, but I never gave up my married life for them. I responded, stop trying to guilt trip me. This is not helping. Cut the bullshit and sign the paperwork. I'll be paying for the children's education until college and you can retain the house and the car. This will be your alimony. I will be moving out. I am prioritizing my pleasure over money because I can now afford it. Back then I couldn't. She cried and tried everything she could to convince me out of get divorced. She stated I could move out and live with Kathy while still married to her. I said, I adore Kathy and do not want her to be dubbed my mistress. I know no one calls her that, but you would. You can go to any length to humiliate others. The paperwork should arrive any day soon. I'm moving in with Kathy next month. I am waiting for my children's annual tests to be completed. I'll be taking them on a trip and then moving out. I'll feel relieved when everything is settled. Update 2. I'm telling you, this woman is a true piece of work. As I said in my previous report, I was on holiday with the children. This woman seized the opportunity to carry out her nasty scheme. Lisa wept her way to Kathy, telling her to back off. She informed her that she was breaking up our family and that our children would suffer as a result. Lisa attempted to guilt Kathy, but when Kathy refused, Lisa said that I wasn't serious about her and that she was simply a fling for me. Lisa is a cunning, ruthless woman. She knows precisely how to play her cards. She knew I was in a low network zone with the kids, so she promised not to call me, and she didn't. If Kathy had been any other woman, she would have freaked out at the fling phrase. But she remained calm and waited for my return. She had my hotel number but did not bother me. That's what I admire about her. She's a confident woman despite my complicated situation. When I arrived home and learned of Lisa's spiteful move, I marched up to her door and yelled at her. I should have done this sooner to get the garbage out of her mind. Her entitled behavior has gone too far, and no one will tolerate it any longer. I have moved out of my house. My children have also decided to stay with me, but we do not have a spare room, therefore I'm looking for a larger property to accommodate them. Until then, kids are remaining with their mother. When I was moving out, Lisa performed a variety of tantrums, ranging from guilt-tripping to ranting, gaslighting to sobbing and pleading for another opportunity. She asked me to give our relationship one more chance. I told her that our relationship had ended 10 years ago. We were only housemates and co-parents. The truth is, I've moved on from loving her. She is nothing to me. I love Kathy and want to spend the rest of my life with her. When Lisa received the divorce papers, she tore them up. My lawyer had to issue her a letter threatening to sue her for destroying a legal document. Only then did she calm down and consent to sign them. The divorce proceedings are ongoing. I haven't followed up on my soon-to-be ex-wife since then. I went to pick up my children twice but did not enter the home. Yes, several of you inquired about my children's ages. They are now 11 and 13, mature enough to understand the divorce and separation. Update 3. I am pleased to inform you that my soon-to-be ex-wife, STBX, is now officially my ex-wife. The main point of this update is that the divorce is finalized and my children have moved in with me. They will visit their mother every 2 weeks or whenever they wish. The last month has been hectic, renting a house and relocating belongings. We didn't tell Lisa about the kids moving in with me until I rented a new house. We all knew she'd be upset, so we decided to wait as long as possible before telling her. The kids advised packing their bags and sneaking off with me when Lisa wasn't looking, but I chose to handle things legally. I did not want to get into another argument with that woman. According to our divorce agreement, we must give each other 3 days' notice if we intend to take the children for more than 2 days. So I returned home and informed Lisa that the children wanted to live with me and that I would pick them up in 3 days. As expected, she freaked out. Fortunately for us, she did not become violent, breaking things and all, which would have made things easier for us. Instead, she took the emotional way. She held the children, cried, apologized for everything, and begged them not to leave her. She did her best to emotionally manipulate them into staying with her. She was even successful with the younger child, who stated that he wanted to stay with Mama. Kathy had warned me that circumstances like these may occur, so I was expecting a last-minute change of heart. When my younger kid called, I told him, "Cool, Dad loves you no matter what." But my oldest son was strong in his choice to move out, so I answered, "Sure, I'll pick you up." I'm not sure what happened in the meantime, but when I went to pick him up, both boys were prepared with their luggage. I hugged both of them and led them away. I didn't inquire as to what had occurred. It was already upsetting enough for them, and I didn't want to further the situation. Kathy and I are attempting to make them feel at ease in our new home. We're involving them in the process of setting up their rooms, ensuring that everything matches their preferences. I expected Lisa to make one more effort to stop the children from leaving the house, but she had already given up. She simply sat there, crying and screaming. She hugged the boys firmly, apologized for her actions, and assured them that she loved them. She stated they were welcome to return to Mama's whenever they pleased. Before I departed, she asked if I had time for coffee. Her appeal sounded innocent and sincere, so I accepted. Her tone conveyed regret and she apologized. This time it did not sound false. She confessed, "I was delusional all along, thinking you would never leave me. When Kathy entered your life, I did not see her as a threat. I assumed she was simply one of those flings that will die out in a month. I believe I took you for granted because of the safety you gave for me and the kids, despite everything I did to you. I didn't realize I was mean and narcissistic until it was too late." I simply smiled and hid my emotions. I rose up to leave and she approached to hug me. I hugged her back. This was our first hug in 10 years. I can't really absorb how I felt about it, and I can't describe how I feel today following our final talk. I'm not pleased or sad, just numb. That's how it is. My life has changed dramatically during the previous 6 to 7 months. I suppose it will take time for me to process everything. Thank you all for your help, you've been the best. If anything changes from here, I may update the thread. Fiancé's toxic best friend torments me, my mental health suffers. Is our relationship doomed or can we recover before the wedding? My fiancé has the biggest heart, would literally give you the shirt, pants, and hat off his body if you asked for it. He's a recovering people pleaser, and I get it because I also used to be a people pleaser. We've been together for 5+ years. A few months ago, I started picking up on his best friend making some not so nice comments towards me. I'm trying to be vague, but let's just say this friend is the type to read who in the room would be most affected by being picked on, and then he picks and picks and picks on them until they can't take it anymore. Nobody ever really holds him accountable for this, and unfortunately I have somehow become his favorite target. I tried to put up with these comments, but it started getting really elaborate. The friend would make up lies about me saying things I never said. He once called me in front of all our friends, my fiancé included, just to yell "you're a bad friend" into the phone and then hang up. There's so much to it that I can't share because I'm trying to be somewhat anonymous. It started having an effect on me and my mental health, and I ended up having a full breakdown where I told my fiancé how much this was all starting to hurt me. The first time I broke down over this, he said he would talk to his friend about teasing, messing with me less. He then told me his friend was sorry and that he'd be keeping an ear out for any other comments and he'd jump to my defense if it happened again. A few weeks later I had a second breakdown over all this. The situation itself is hitting a very specific childhood trauma trigger for me, and he admitted that his friend didn't actually apologize. He actually said he was sorry I was too sensitive to understand his humor. At that point I told my fiancé my friendship with this person is over and I want zero contact from here on out, even if it means I have to miss out on events and parties that I'd otherwise love to go to. He agreed with me that all of this is being done with the intention to get a rise out of me, and that even if we tried to get through to this friend he's so diabolical that we could never fully trust him to not treat me at least a little bit shitty. My fiancé kept asking if this meant he had to quit the project they're working on. I told him I would never tell him he had to because I know how much it means to him, but in all honesty, the fact that this person is treating me so poorly that I'm having physical stress reactions isn't enough for him to want to cut this person off does hurt a lot. The fact that it isn't a deal breaker for him is probably always going to sting a little. He's not confrontational at all and I always knew that, but it's not about confrontation. It's about standing in my corner. And I can't spend the rest of my life with someone who isn't in my corner. This friend is getting married to my best friend in a few months and we're both supposed to be in the wedding, but I really have no clue how. I get a literal knot in my stomach anytime his name is even mentioned now. I have seen this friend one time since all of this came to a head and he was so over the top nice to me that it came off as cocky. I had the second breakdown a few days afterwards because I realized I'm possibly going to spend the rest of my life on edge and on guard anytime this person is even somewhat in my vicinity. Even if they aren't actively fucking with me. I don't know how to come to terms with the fact that my fiancé was willing to lie to me on his shitty friend's behalf, but he's not willing to stand in my corner against him. I think it'll always hurt. This guy was supposed to be the best man in our wedding, and as a result we haven't been talking much about wedding plans. I think if he's still planning on this friend being in our wedding I may have to call it off for my own sanity, and that sucks so bad. This is fucking eating me alive. I love my fiancé so much. I love his big heart and the way he loves all of it. But he loves some truly wretched people, and I don't know if he'll enforce any boundaries with those people before the lack of boundaries becomes too much for me to handle. I'm just hurt. And hurting. And I just want whatever outcome to play out so I can stop feeling so guilty and awful all the time. Comments. Comment 1. If your fiancé will not stick up for you, it's more than just being a people pleaser. He's a doormat. Comment 2. And her best friend isn't much of a friend either, considering the problematic friend is marrying her best friend. She should also be telling him to back off too. Update 1. Never thought I'd actually update this account out of sheer fucking embarrassment, but I wanted to share this for those who encouraged me to put myself first. I want you all to know my partner absolutely came through and protected me in this. We spent all this time since my last post up until last week communicating and trying to find a resolution, and walking through how it got this bad. He took a lot of accountability for that. This is not a case of me giving in. He understands fully that this has only got so bad because it's never been handled correctly, and he had a major hand in that. There were so many more layers to this than a Reddit post ever could have conveyed. The bottom line is we are closer than ever, and after a lot of talking, we decided on my partner sending a firm but not unkind message to his friend explaining the behaviors, explaining that they were hurting his partner, and that it needed to stop. He asked to write up the first draft and we could go over it together to try to perfect it. Reddit, please know the first draft my partner wrote was so spot on what I needed to read that it instantly shifted us into us versus the problem mode when we'd been stuck butting heads for weeks. He laid everything out so clearly and in ways that we hadn't discussed, so I know it came from him. We had to tone down a lot of the big emotions. We really truly gave the message its best shot to address the situation without being hostile. We knew the response would be bad no matter what, but I don't think anything could have fucking prepared us. This man went full scorched earth and blew up everything almost immediately. He insulted my partner. He told him these events didn't happen the way I claim they do. He demanded they meet up alone with a mediator. He even threatened to reach out to my partner's parents to fill them in, which is probably the moment we stopped taking his responses seriously. All of us are almost in our 30s. If once wasn't enough, he threatened it twice. We actually had to call them and warn them that he would be showing up at their place later this week and not to open the door. There's still a good chance he'll attempt it. We stayed respectful throughout all of this, which I feel good about. We didn't stoop to his level. We didn't insult anyone. We asked for basic human respect and somehow it blew up spectacularly. In the end, we both received a massive wall of text from my now ex-best friend, fully backing up her man and telling her side of the story, which is so insanely far off from what actually happened that all I can do is laugh. We've been shifting from crying to being dumbstruck to just straight up laughing because of the absurdity. I went into this thinking she was brainwashed, but it turns out I was wrong. They're a perfect match. I wish them all the best. I am sending them one last message setting the record straight, which my partner and I decided together was the best approach apart from just ghosting, before moving on from this entirely. I'm going to make it very clear this is done, zero contact indefinitely, and I will never look back. My partner and I both deserve way better friends and we both see that so clearly now. I am so fucking glad I learned my friend's true colors before we dropped $800 on a hotel for their wedding. Thank you to everyone who was kind. Not only did I put myself first in the end, but my partner did too. We're going to take this week in stride and process it all, grieve the friendships we once thought were forever, and at the end of the week we have a conveniently timed vacation to my partner's family cottage. I think we're going to come out of this stronger, because we already feel it. Again, thank you to those who had something productive to say. And I've made my peace with all the rest. I guess if the guy does something else outlandish, maybe I'll update, but for now, this chapter is closed and I'm so ready for it to start collecting dust. Comments. Comment 1. It sounds like both of your ex-friends were from your people's pleasing days. It's time for a fresh start. And I'm glad you're both going to get it before your wedding so they're not in the photos. Comment 2. Good riddance to bad rubbish. Wishing you both peace. Update 2. Hey all. Told myself I wouldn't update again, but there has been a pretty massive development. Not sure if anyone is really that invested in this shit show, but it's actually helped me to type it out the first couple times, so maybe I'll feel a bit better if I do it again. Sorry in advance for how disgustingly long this is gonna be, lol. A few weeks ago the asshole showed his entire hand. He sent my partner a message at 11 a.m. on a Monday and it is the most unhinged shit I've ever read. I'll sum it up for you. The asshole said he believed my partner is in an abusive relationship and he should leave me, for his own happiness. He claimed he has evidence to support this. He admitted this was the big message he would have given had they met in person in the very beginning. He also told him he was worried sending the message would make things even worse for my partner if I saw it. He said I am someone he can never forgive and he will never want to associate with ever again. He ended it by saying he hopes he'll leave me so my partner can apologize for breaking up the band. Yes, it was a band. And they can start to repair their friendship. Obviously a whole lot to digest. I know y'all don't know me, but I'm obviously not abusing my partner lol. I shouldn't even have to clarify that, but I will anyway. This guy is 100% excommunicated from our lives indefinitely, not that he already wasn't at that point. In light of this new info, I'd like to share some of the things the asshole has done over the past year or so that made me realize he was fucking with me, but I didn't clock at the time because, much like some of you, I thought I was just being sensitive. My partner and I joined some pals, including an asshole, to play a game together online. Lethal Company if you're familiar. I have many hours in the game and know the monsters quite well, so I was pretty confused when I was slaughtered by a bracket 3 game days in a row, almost immediately upon entering the facility and splitting from the group. I mentioned at one point that I'd be having a lot more fun if I wasn't dying so quickly every time, and the asshole mockingly said it must be a skill issue. After a few more deaths, this time with me at least getting to explore a bit before getting my neck snapped, I asked if anyone had the Control Company mod installed, which allows the server host to play as the monsters. Suddenly the asshole had to go, and the lobby conveniently disbanded. I never brought my suspicions up to anyone because I knew it would be my word against his and I had no solid proof so I wasn't positive, but when I finally mentioned it to my partner a couple of weeks ago after that text was sent he told me he remembers the asshole staying on the ship and secretly going AFK multiple times in the game, which lines up pretty perfectly with my in-game deaths. When I said the asshole was being too nice, the time we saw him after my partner called him about his comments affecting me. I don't think I explained it right. My partner and I were sitting at a table at a local show and the asshole sat next to me, not my partner, and wouldn't stop touching my arm and asking me if I was enjoying the show. Multiple times he would just stare at me and grin as wide as he could. If I'd just been told something I did hurt my friend's partner, I don't think I'd be all over them the way this guy was to me. Hell, if it were me I'd at least throw a sorry about the other night their way. It felt like he was gloating that he got away with it. It was comically over the top and made me and my partner very uncomfortable. We talked on the drive home and we both felt the same about it. I was hanging out with my friend at her place and an asshole was there, so we all decided to head to my place and hang with my partner as a foursome. Right before we left the asshole asked if I knew our mutual friend's big secret. I did not. I'm also not very close with this friend. My friend already knew and told him they should just tell me because I wouldn't be that invested, but asshole told her my partner didn't know yet and they couldn't tell me until we all got to my place and told him. He kept going on about how big the secret was and insisted that I'd freak out once I knew. I made a comment about how we were taking different cars and there was a chance my friend would just tell me on the way, so he looked her dead in the face and told her that he'd be genuinely upset with her if she told me before he told my partner. We respected that. When we got to my place, it was obvious my partner already knew. The big secret was simply that our friend was dating someone. I found out later that the asshole had called my partner the minute he got to his car and told him that both me and my friend didn't know and they should put on a big show of telling both of us together. My partner had known for weeks and the friend group had openly discussed it a few times, and it hadn't come up with me because, as I said, I'm not very close with this friend. I got baited lol. Truly exhausting behavior. My partner had no idea what happened until I told him about the conversation at the asshole's place and my friend didn't say a word in my defense. I typed out exactly why this was ridiculous once all this came to a head and they both refused to even acknowledge it. I dyed my hair blue. My first outing with the new hair was with the whole group. I went all out on my makeup and outfit and was pretty stoked on it. I'm not exaggerating in the slightest when I say the asshole made 20+ jokes about my hair in the span of about 15 minutes. It was pretty much every time he interacted with me, which he seemed to go out of his way to do specifically so he could make jokes about my hair. If you've ever had blue hair then you've probably heard most of the jokes he was making. I laughed along for the first few. I can definitely handle banter as it's a huge part of almost all of my friendships, but after about 20 jokes I finally said it was getting old and asked if he had anything nice to say. He responded by making another 5 jokes with a big shit-eating grin on his face and implied I was too sensitive. There truly was no off switch with the guy. Anyways, just wanted you all to know I'm not crazy. The asshole has literally been trying to drive me mad for at least a year and it almost worked. My partner and I have had many conversations about all this, and I know a lot of people had a lot to say about him, but please know this was eating both of us alive. He wanted to make things work so badly, he wanted to at least try to salvage their 20+ year friendship. But he understands now that was never possible, and he knows neither of us deserve to be treated the way the asshole treated us. This was never just about me. If he was a good friend to my partner, maybe things would be different and we could have tried harder to get through to him, but this is just who he is at his core. He's known for being a prick for no reason and lying about it. And there's no space in either of our lives for that. Anyways, I doubt the asshole can top that message, so this is the last update I'll give. My partner and I are coming out of this way stronger. The asshole has completely brainwashed my friend, and I've made my peace with it. She can have him, LOL. Godspeed to the both of them. Thanks to all who showed understanding. Hopefully this is all going to be behind us very soon, once the dust fully settles. Comment: it all sounds like he was jealous of you and was threatened by your relationship with your fiancé. He probably felt that you were taking his best friend away from him. Just a quick question. Did you date your fiancé before or after your ex-best friends started dating? It's just that if they started after you, he could have done it to punish you and take her away from you or to make sure he stayed close to your fiancé. Also, did it ever cross your mind that your ex-best friend was in love with him, because his behavior sounds indicative of a jealous ex-lover? I'm not saying that your fiancé was in love with him, or even did anything with him, only that his ex-best friend's feelings could have been one-sided and not known to your fiancé. Anyway, I hope that you two can concentrate on your wedding now that the toxic people are out of your life and that you both have a wonderful future together and a beautifully unforgettable wedding. Update me if your toxic ex-best friends do anything else, but I honestly hope that they don't. OOP, the asshole met my friend through me. And I truly don't think he was in love with my partner, just loved to control him. He tries to control everyone around him,